Have you ever witnessed a moment where the underdog turns the tables? Bullies humiliated a black girl, but little did they know, they were in for a big surprise. "Hey, Serena Williams, where's your racket?" yelled Dylan Martinez, captain of the football team, as he pushed Maya Johnson against the lockers in the hallway of Roosevelt High School. The metallic sound echoed through the crowded hallway, and more than 50 students stopped to watch the spectacle. Maya was only 17 and never imagined that her first day at her new school would end up being free entertainment during lunch. Transferred from a school in the inner city after her mother got a better job, she already knew it would be different there, but she didn't expect it to be this brutal. "Check it out, guys," Dylan continued, turning to his audience. "Looks like someone got lost on their way out of the ghetto." His friends laughed loudly, the kind of forced laughter that happens when teenagers want to impress the leader of the pack. What they didn't know was that Maya was counting 1, 2, 3 deep breaths, a technique she had learned 2 years ago when she started boxing to deal with the anger she felt after her father's death. 4, 5, 6. Her eyes remained fixed on the floor, but not out of fear or shame. "What? You don't know how to speak English?" taunted Madison Pierce, the most popular girl in school, recording everything on her cell phone. "Or do you only know how to speak? What is it you speak where you come from?" Maya slowly raised her head. Her eyes met Dylan's, and for a second something passed between them. He blinked first, confused by the absolute calm in her gaze. It was like looking into deep water, serene on the surface, but with a powerful current running beneath. "Are you ready for the twist that will leave you speechless?" "Excuse me," Maya said softly, her voice carrying an accent she had worked years to soften. "Were you talking to me?" The crowd laughed again, thinking they had broken her spirit. But Jessie Chun, a quiet Asian girl who always ate lunch alone, noticed something different. Maya's posture wasn't submissive. It was that of someone who was assessing, calculating, waiting. Dylan moved closer, his hot breath on her face. "Listen here, ghetto princess. Here's how it works. People like you keep quiet, keep your head down, and don't cause any trouble. Got it?" "People like me," Maya repeated, savoring each word. A small smile touched her lips but didn't reach her eyes. "What kind of person do you think I am, Dylan?" The use of his name surprised him. How did she know? They had never been introduced. In fact, how did she manage to look so controlled? "The kind that will learn to respect," he replied, pushing her again. This time, Maya moved with a push instead of resisting. A movement so smooth it seemed almost like dancing. Dylan stumbled slightly, surprised by her lack of resistance. A quick flashback crossed Maya's mind: Coach Rodriguez, 3 months ago at Underground Fitness Gym. "Maya, you have the potential to be special. Not just technically, but here." He tapped his chest. "You fight with your heart, but also with your head. That will take you far." Madison stopped recording for a second. "Guys, she's being weird. Like, why isn't she crying?" "Maybe she's scared," suggested Kevin Walsh, Dylan's best friend. "I mean, look where she came from." Maya closed her eyes for a moment. 7, 8, 9 breaths. When she opened them, there was something new there. A cold determination that made some of the students instinctively step back. "Are you guys done?" she asked, adjusting the strap of her backpack, "because I have chemistry class in 5 minutes. And contrary to what you might think, I actually care about my education." The simple, direct answer cut through the atmosphere like a knife. This wasn't the reaction they expected. Where were the tears? The desperation, the submission that would confirm all their assumptions about who she was supposed to be. Dylan felt his authority slipping through his fingers. "You're going to regret talking to me like that," he whispered low enough that only she could hear. "I make people's lives hell when they don't respect me." "I'm sure you do," Maya replied, meeting his eyes again. "But the question is, have you ever met someone who came from hell and lived to tell the story?" The hallway grew eerily quiet. Even Madison stopped filming, sensing that something had changed in the air. The other students began whispering among themselves, confused by the shift in the dynamic they had expected. Maya started to walk away, but stopped and turned back. "Oh, Dylan." He stared at her, still processing what had just happened. Thanks for the welcome. It was educational. As she walked down the hallway, her steps were measured, controlled, with a grace that vaguely resembled a cat. Jessie Chun watched, fascinated, noticing how Maya kept her shoulders relaxed, but her hands slightly closed, not in fists, but in something more subtle, more prepared. What no one in that hallway knew was that Maya Johnson had just memorized every face, every name, every insult. And when she got home that night, she would do something she had been doing for 2 years. She would write everything down in a small red notebook where she recorded every injustice, every challenge, every person who underestimated a 17-year-old black girl from the suburbs. The same notebook where she had written, Underground Championship, 15 consecutive wins. Next fight, Saturday. If this story of prejudice and underestimation caught your attention, don't forget to subscribe to the Black Voices channel, because what happened the next day would prove that some people make the fatal mistake of confusing silence with weakness. The next morning, Maya discovered that being publicly humiliated was just the beginning. Madison's video had gone viral on the school's Instagram with the caption, "New girl learning the rules face with tears of joy." Hashtag welcome to Roosevelt. Hashtag know your place. 342 likes and comments that burned like acid. She got back to where she belongs real quick. LOL. She won't last a week. At least she's polite, right? Maya slid her finger across the screen, memorizing every username, every cruel comment. In her red notebook, she wrote meticulously, Day 2, Coordinated Cyberbullying. Evidence, screenshots attached. Her handwriting remained perfectly controlled, as if she were taking notes in a history class. During break, Dylan and his gang took the table next to hers in the cafeteria. "Hey guys, look at this," he said loud enough for half the cafeteria to hear. "Our celebrity is here. How many views does your video have, Maya? You must be proud of your fame." Jessica Chun, sitting alone 2 tables away, watched Maya carefully. There was something about her posture, relaxed shoulders, controlled breathing, alert but calm eyes, that didn't fit someone being bullied. She looked more like someone studying. "Dylan," Maya said without looking up from her chemistry book. "Have you ever wondered why you need an audience to feel brave?" The silence that followed was deafening. Kevin Walsh almost choked on his soda. Madison stopped recording her own story on Snapchat. The question had hit something vulnerable that Dylan kept well hidden. "Watch your mouth," he growled, standing up. "You still don't understand how things work around here." Maya finally looked at him, and for a second Dylan saw something in her eyes that made him flinch involuntarily. It was the same look his father had when he was about to lose control, cold, calculating, dangerous. "Actually," Maya closed the book slowly, "I understand perfectly. You rule through fear because it's easier than earning genuine respect. You use social power as a crutch because alone, you're just an insecure kid who learned that hurting others hurts less than dealing with your own wounds." The cafeteria was completely silent now. Even the staff stopped cleaning tables. No one talked to Dylan Martinez like that. No one dared. Kevin rose menacingly. "You'll regret this." "Possibly," Maya admitted, tucking the book into her backpack. "But you'll regret something, too. The difference is I chose my regret consciously." As she stood up to leave, Dylan grabbed her by the arm. It wasn't a gentle touch. It was possessive, controlling, the kind of gesture that left marks. Maya looked at his hand on her arm, then into his eyes. "Take your hand off," she said softly. "Or what?" Dylan squeezed harder. A flashback crossed Maya's mind. 3 years ago at her father's funeral, he had died of lung cancer at 42, leaving behind a wife without a degree and a 14-year-old daughter who promised at his coffin that she would never be a victim of anything or anyone again. Coach Rodriguez had shown up at the funeral, a giant black man with calloused hands and kind eyes. "Your daughter is angry, Mrs. Johnson," he had said to her mother. "Anger can destroy a person, or it can forge a warrior. The choice is hers." Maya had chosen to be a warrior. "Take your hand off me," she repeated, her voice still calm, but charged with something new. Dylan felt the muscles in her arm tense beneath his grip. It wasn't the tension of fear. It was the tension of someone preparing for action. The force with which she broke free surprised him. It wasn't violent. It was technical, a small, precise movement that broke his grip with apparent effort. Dylan looked down at his own hand, confused, as if it had simply evaporated. "How did you?" he began. "Self-defense," Maya explained casually. "My mom signed me up after some boys tried to mug me on my way home from school. You understand how it is, right? Black girls from the projects need to know how to defend themselves." Madison frowned. "Self-defense doesn't teach that." Maya smiled for the first time since the day before. "You're right. Basic self-defense doesn't teach that." She paused. "But I didn't say I did basic self-defense." Jessica Chun watched Maya walk out of the cafeteria with movements that seemed almost feline. Each step was precise, economical, as if she were always slightly in a fighting stance without it being obvious. That afternoon during gym class, Maya had to wear the school uniform, standard shorts and a t-shirt that revealed something her normal clothes hid. Her arms were subtly but unmistakably sculpted. Not exaggerated muscles, but the specific definition of someone who has been training with purpose for years. "Man," whispered one boy on the basketball team to another, "look at her arms. That girl works out." Dylan noticed too. During volleyball, he watched how Maya moved, always perfectly balanced with reflexes too quick to be natural. A coordination that only comes with intensive training. When the ball came flying toward her, Maya didn't just defend it. She controlled it with surgical precision, redirecting it exactly where she wanted it to go. The movement was so smooth it looked like luck. But Dylan was beginning to suspect that nothing about Maya Johnson was luck. After class, he followed her to the lockers. "You're not who you seem to be, are you?" Maya was changing clothes with efficient movements. "No one is who they seem to be, Dylan. That's the first rule of survival." "Survival?" He laughed nervously. "What kind of life did you have that you had to learn to survive?" Maya stared at him for a long moment. "The kind of life where you learn that there are two kinds of people. Those who protect the weak and those who exploit them. And you learn to recognize the difference very quickly." "And which kind are you?" "I'm still deciding," Maya replied, closing the locker. "But I know exactly which kind you are." That night, Maya was at the underground gym, a gym hidden in an industrial warehouse where young people from the suburbs came to train boxing away from the eyes of society. Coach Rodriguez was adjusting her bandages when she told him about the events at school. "They're testing you," he said, his experienced hands checking each turn of the bandage. "They want to see how far they can push you before you break." "I won't break." "I know, but the question is, will you reveal yourself?" Coach Rodriguez stopped working and looked her in the eyes. "Maya, you have 15 consecutive wins on the underground circuit. You've knocked out men twice your weight. But your greatest power isn't your physical strength. It's that no one suspects what you're capable of." Maya nodded, understanding the implication. "Keep the secret for now." "But if they escalate beyond verbal intimidation?" Coach Rodriguez didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. They both knew that Maya had promised on her father's grave that she would never be anyone's victim again. The next morning, Maya found her locker covered in graffiti, "Go back to the ghetto," in red letters. Students walked by and took pictures, turning her humiliation into morning entertainment for the school. Dylan appeared beside her, feigning surprise. "Wow, that's too bad. Who did that?" His friends laughed loudly, making it obvious who the culprits were. Maya touched the red letters, feeling the paint still slightly damp. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "red is an interesting color. It symbolizes passion, power, and danger." "Really?" Dylan leaned closer. "To me, it just symbolizes that you're learning your lesson." Maya turned to him with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "The only lesson I'm learning is that some people confuse patience with weakness. And when they find out the difference," she paused, "well, it's usually too late for them." Each humiliation only fueled something inside her that her tormentors couldn't see, a cold, calculated determination being forged by the very injustice they try to impose. What Dylan and his friends didn't know was that every insult, every shove, every moment of contempt was being carefully documented in a red notebook that would be the key to their own destruction. On Wednesday, Maya arrived at school early and found Jessica Chun cleaning her vandalized locker with cleaning supplies she had brought from home. "You don't have to do that," Maya said softly. But Jessica shook her head. "I know what it's like to be different here. Dylan made my life hell in freshman year until I became invisible." Jessica hesitated. "But you're not becoming invisible. You're doing something different." Maya studied Jessica's face. "What kind of different?" "Yesterday, when Dylan grabbed you and you broke free, my dad taught me some basic self-defense." "That wasn't basic." For the first time in days, Maya smiled genuinely. "Where is your family from?" "Korea. My father was a boxer before he immigrated. He always said he could tell a fighter by the way they move." Jessica finished cleaning out the locker. "You're a fighter, aren't you?" Maya sized Jessica up for a long moment. "Self-defense. My mom put me in classes when we moved here." "Classes where?" "Why do you want to know?" Jessica showed her a small scar on her wrist. "Because Dylan has you marked as his top target. When he does that, things escalate. He doesn't stop until he breaks you completely." At that moment, Dylan appeared in the hallway with Kevin and Madison. When he saw Jessica standing next to Maya, his face contorted. "Look, the Asian refugee made a new friend. How cute." Jessica instinctively shrank back. But Maya stepped forward, positioning herself between Dylan and Jessica. The movement was subtle, but protective. "Dylan, shouldn't you be studying for your civil rights history test?" The irony made some students snicker, and Dylan realized he was being mocked. "Very funny, but civil rights won't protect you when I decide to teach you some more practical lessons." "Practical lessons?" Maya repeated thoughtfully. "Like what exactly?" Kevin approached menacingly. "Like not talking to boys who aren't on your level." Dylan smiled cruelly. "His level is where people like you have always been, serving people like us, keeping quiet when real men are talking." The hallway fell silent. Maya looked Dylan in the eye for a long moment. "Real men. Tell me more about that." "Not being intimidated by girls who think they're special." "I see. And intimidation would be part of being a real man, too." Dylan was feeling cornered. "I don't intimidate anyone. I just teach respect like you did to Thomas Miller last year." The blood drained from Dylan's face. Thomas Miller had attempted suicide after months of torment, an incident hushed up by Dylan's influential family. "How did you?" Dylan began. "Thomas is fine now, by the way. He transferred to a school where he can be himself." Jessica looked at Maya with new respect. She had done her research on Dylan. "You don't know anything about Thomas," Dylan said, but his voice had lost its confidence. "I know he tried to hang himself after you posted those videos. I know he spent 3 months in therapy, and I know you all thought it was hilarious." Maya took out her phone and showed screenshots of old Instagram posts of Kevin and Madison laughing about Tommy the Crybaby. "The internet never forgets, Dylan." Madison tried to grab the phone, but Maya tucked it away quickly. "Where did you get this?" "Public posts. Anyone can see them, including parents, principals, and authorities interested in cyberbullying that led to a suicide attempt." Dylan was pale. "You can't prove anything." "I don't need to prove anything. I just need to document it." Maya glanced at the crowd of recording phones, and it looks like everyone else is documenting it just fine. That afternoon in gym class, her school uniform revealed something her normal clothes had hidden. Maya's arms were subtly sculpted, not overly muscular, but the specific definition of someone who has been training with purpose for years. During volleyball, when a ball came flying toward her, Maya didn't just defend it, she controlled it with surgical precision. The movement was so smooth it looked like luck. But Dylan was beginning to suspect that nothing about Maya Johnson was luck. "You're not who you seem to be," he said after class. No one is who they seem to be, Dylan. That's the first rule of survival. What kind of life did you have that you had to learn to survive? Maya stared at him for a long moment. The kind where you learn that there are two kinds of people. Those who protect the weak and those who exploit them. And which kind are you? I'm still deciding. But I know exactly which kind you are. That night, Maya opened her laptop and sent a message to an address she had memorized. Evidence collected. Witnesses lined up. Ready for next phase. The reply came within minutes. Documentation approved. Proceed as planned. In her red notebook, she wrote, Day 5, ally confirmed. Jessica Chin, antagonist showing signs of desperation. Thomas Miller file weapon loaded. Next phase, full exposure. What Dylan didn't know yet was that Maya had secretly contacted other students he had tormented. The file she was building wasn't just about bullying. It was about a systematic pattern that was about to explode in a way that would destroy not only his reputation, but the entire structure that allowed people like him to thrive. Because Maya Johnson wasn't just a girl seeking personal justice. She was part of something bigger. And Dylan Martinez had just become the perfect example of what happens when predators choose the wrong prey. As Maya closed her laptop, a smile touched her lips, not one of joy, but the cold satisfaction of someone who knows that all the pieces are finally in place. What no one suspected was that the real storm was just beginning. And when it arrived, it would be devastating in a way that no high school bully could ever imagine or prepare for. On Friday morning, Dylan arrived at school to find posters scattered throughout the hallways. Justice for Thomas Miller, the truth about bullying at Roosevelt High. Below, QR codes directed to a website with screenshots, videos, and testimonials from dozens of students. How did she get this? Dylan muttered, scanning the code. The page revealed 3 years of documented systematic abuse, including photos of him and his friends laughing while Thomas cried in the bathroom moments before his suicide attempt. Madison came running up hysterical. Dylan, my parents are going to kill me. The video is everywhere: Reddit, TikTok, Twitter. During break, Dylan burst into the library where Maya was sitting quietly. You ruined my life. My college scholarship is gone, and Thomas's family is suing. Maya looked at him with her usual calm. You're worried about consequences. Thomas was 2 when you posted those videos of him naked in the locker room. That was 2 years ago. It was just a joke. A joke? Maya opened her laptop. Let's see what Thomas thought. The screen showed a video that made Dylan recoil. It was Thomas Miller, now 19, in a professional studio. My name is Thomas Miller. Dylan Martinez and his friends turned my life into hell. When I heard he was doing the same thing to Maya Johnson, I wanted to help. Dylan was pale. Where did this come from? Thomas majored in psychology and works in suicide prevention, Maya replied. He contacted me 3 weeks ago offering his help. The video continued. Maya Johnson isn't just a transfer student. She's an undefeated state champion with 15 consecutive wins on the underground circuit, but more importantly, she's never bowed down to bullies. Kevin tried to close the laptop, but Maya stopped him with such a quick movement that he stumbled. The most interesting part, Maya said calmly, is that I didn't have to lie about anything. You assumed I was weak because I'm black and new to school. Madison was crying. Our lives are over. Your lives are over, Maya stood up. Thomas almost had his life literally ended. How many lives did you think you could destroy without consequences? Dylan tried to regain control. You can't prove I did anything wrong now. Maya smiled coldly. Dylan, do you really think I didn't document every second? She opened a folder showing organized timestamps. Monday, physical assault. Tuesday, coordinated cyberbullying. Wednesday, racial intimidation. But here's the best part. You did all of this knowing I was recording because you thought a girl like me would never have the courage to fight back. You can't use that. It's illegal to record without consent. Not in public areas of the school, a new voice said. Everyone turned to see Principal Washington with two men in suits and a prosecutor. "Mr. Martinez," the principal said formally, "you are suspended. The police want to ask you questions about the Thomas Miller case, and there is new evidence of systematic bullying." Dylan looked around desperately. "This is absurd. She set me up." "Yes," Maya agreed simply. "I planned it. I documented every crime, contacted every victim, collected every piece of evidence you were too arrogant to hide. The difference is that I used the truth." The prosecutor approached. "Mr. Martinez, we have evidence of a pattern that constitutes criminal harassment, cyberbullying, and possibly hate crimes." Madison sobbed. "Maya, please, we can talk. We know we were terrible." Maya looked at her with almost pity. "Madison, you had 3 years to choose change. You chose to escalate the cruelty. Some actions have permanent consequences." As Dylan was escorted away, he turned around one last time. "You think you're better than us, but you're just a bully." Maya met his eyes and replied clearly, "The difference, Dylan, is that I use my strength to protect people who can't protect themselves. You used it to hurt those trying to survive. That doesn't make us the same. It makes us opposites." When the commotion died down, Jessica approached. "How did you know it would work?" Maya closed her laptop. "People like Dylan always make the same mistake. They assume that physical strength is all that matters. They never consider knowledge, patience, fairness, and the ability to turn pain into purpose." Coach Rodriguez appeared, nodding approvingly. "How do you feel?" "I don't feel joy. It's not revenge. It's making sure he can never do this to anyone else. And showing everyone that people like us don't have to accept being treated like less than human." In the silence that followed, something had fundamentally changed at Roosevelt High. It wasn't just that Dylan had been removed. It was what Maya had proven possible. When someone refuses to accept injustice and has the intelligence to fight back the right way. But while the students processed the radical transformation they had just witnessed, Maya held one last secret. What had happened there wasn't just about school justice, but part of something much bigger that was about to change not just a school, but an entire system that allowed predators like Dylan to thrive with impunity at the expense of the vulnerable. 6 months later, Maya stood on stage in the Roosevelt High auditorium holding the Student of the Year award as the entire school gave her a standing ovation. Her mother cried with pride in the front row, watching her daughter be celebrated by the same community that had nearly destroyed her. "This award isn't just mine," Maya said into the microphone. "It's for all the students who chose to protect each other instead of hurting each other." Jessica Chun, now president of the school's anti-bullying club, smiled from the audience. Thomas Miller had flown in especially for the ceremony, recording everything to show how a 17-year-old girl had changed an entire school. Dylan Martinez was across town, completing 400 hours of community service. Expelled from Roosevelt, rejected by colleges after the viral scandal, he worked at a homeless shelter. For the first time in years, he felt the genuine satisfaction of helping rather than hurting. Madison Pierce had lost her Instagram followers, her friends abandoning her when her reputation crumbled. Now she was in therapy, finally confronting the demons that had turned her into a cruel person. Roosevelt High had become a national model for combating bullying. The anti-bullying program wasn't just posters. It was a real system where students like Maya trained others to recognize and combat injustice. The best part, Maya explained to a documentary about the school, wasn't destroying Dylan. It was showing that people like us never had to accept being treated like we were less than. The video of Maya receiving her award had surpassed 5 million views, inspiring anti-bullying movements in schools across the country. At graduation, Maya was chosen to be the valedictorian. Some of you know my story about revenge and justice. But what I want you to remember is not how you punish those who hurt you. It's how you choose to use your strength to build something better. Dylan, who had been granted permission to attend as part of his rehabilitation, applauded with tears streaming down his face. Maya, you saved me from becoming a monster forever. Dylan, you always had a choice about what kind of person you wanted to be. I just made it harder for you to choose the bad version. Maya had learned the most important lesson. The best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's building a world where people like them can't thrive by hurting the vulnerable. When you turn pain into purpose, you don't just win, you inspire a revolution. The girl who was underestimated for being black and from the suburbs had become living proof that some people are born to be leaders who show others how to refuse to accept the unacceptable. And you, what would you do in Maya's place? Leave a comment if you faced prejudice and how you reacted. Subscribe to the Black Voices channel for more stories that show that true justice doesn't destroy, it transforms everything around.